Hello, this is Jan from Any Repair. Today we will go through a graphics card repair that came to our lab with no display. This graphic card is a 3090 Dell. Now let's go and see what we will do with this graphics card. Here we have this little beast. We have this RTX 3090, a Dell one, which has no display. That is what our customer talked about. We will check in diode mode in main rails of this card, such as the 3.3 volts rail PCI Express, which is okay. The PCI Express 12 volts, which is okay. Let's check the 12 volts PSU rails on the fuses, which the first is okay and the second is okay too. Now the secondary rails, 1.8 volts, it's okay. The display rail of 0.95 volts seems okay too. Down right, it's a coil of 5 volts, it seems okay. So we are okay to power on the card. We will plug the card on our power supply. We will use a riser cable. Note the card is not plugged on a PC, it's only powered through our power supply unit in order to make the GPU to generate all voltages. We will check those voltages and determine what is the problem. We will power on the power supply, and now let's check for voltages and if we are missing any. The GPU is not heating up. That's not a bad sign, because we can check the voltages, no worrying about the GPU overheating. 5 volt coil is having 5 volts, 12 volt fuses are having the right volts. .8 volt. The coil is okay, and let's check the 0.95. We're not having any voltage here, and of course no VRM is present. I will check in the back of this board, directly in the coils. No voltage is present. So we will now check why the voltages are missing. And we will find out that one driver on the VRM section was not functioning properly, and its gate had a very low value, so we had to remove it, and we will change this driver with a new one. off camera because these electrolytic capacitors are easy blown when overheated, so we must remove and replace this driver very quickly, and we will be back. So we have replaced this dear MOSFET, and now we'll go and replace the 0.95 volts IC and check if this was the problem for the 0.95 volts that was not generating. We will add some flux and use our heat gun. Our heat gun must be extra hot and with fuller speed in order to remove this without a preheater. This board is thick and patience is needed in order to remove the chip. The IC is finally moving and now it is off the board. Now we will clean the pads from solder and we will try to find from donors this IC or something similar that will work in the same rail with the same way. Fortunately, we have some 3070s and some 3080s which have similar IC in the same rail, so we will use something like that. We will use a GS9216 IC that is interchangeable with the previous one, and here we are. We will add some flux, we will add some solder, and solder the chip with a high speed air tube and a high temperature. After we place the chip with the right alignment of course and start the process. We think it's okay. Let's press it down to have better contact on the board. Add more pressure in order to assure the contact is good. We will add some flux and clean any bridges that have been created. and we will clean up with some isopropylic alcohol. Clean this last bridge too. Now it's time for us to check if the voltages are okay finally. We will plug the card on our power supply and check again. Plug everything and switch on. We have added a pad on the GPU in order not to be overheated if the VRM starts. Power on the power supply and no 0.95 volt generation. We must now see the IC requirements, and as there are no schematics or board views around for such a card, we must see and check similar boards from our donors and determine what are the requirements. So, a long internet check on photos and requirements and similar datasets, we have determined that there was a fuse missing from the board that was feeding the 12 volts on this IC. Only for test purposes, we have jumpered this as a fuse in order to test and determine if the problem still exists. Afterwards, a fuse will be placed instead of the jumper. So, let's test the card on the power supply. We have added our oscilloscope to check if the coil that is on the MOSFET that we have previously changed operates correctly. We'll power on the power supply unit and the coil MOSFET is having a PWM, so you can see that it is okay. And the 0.95 volts coil having a voltage, but better to check with a multimeter. See? It is okay now. So we will go and test the card if it is kicking or not. So we have connected the card on our test PC, and you can see the fans spinning. We have already the display. We will call GPU Z in order to check if everything are recognized correctly. Everything is right. So we will format with a low preset. At first the card in order to check if it is okay. It seems to be okay. Our goal is not only fix the electronic circuit, but to stress the card and check if it is performing as it should. If the GPU passes the test, it will be repaced and we will perform a full cycle of different stress tests in order to determine if it's working properly. It seems to me that it is passing the tests, and this is very good for such a card. and we will continue the stress tests after this. That was the repair. You saw what we did with this card and how we dealt with this damage. If you liked this video, please consider like, subscribe and share. Thanks for watching, see you in another repair. Bye.